The sun rose over the narrow pass of Thermopylae, casting golden light upon the rocky terrain that would soon become a battlefield of legend. King Leonidas of Sparta stood at the head of his 300 warriors, their bronze helmets gleaming, their red cloaks billowing in the morning breeze. They had come to hold this ground against the Persian horde, led by the mighty King Xerxes, who sought to conquer Greece and bring it under his empire's dominion. The Greeks were not alone in their stand. Other city-states had sent warriors to join them, swelling their numbers to around 7,000. But it was the Spartans who commanded the defense, for they were the most formidable soldiers in the known world. Trained from childhood, disciplined beyond measure, they had been molded into living weapons. They had been chosen not only for their skill but for their willingness to die for their homeland. Across the field, the Persian army stretched beyond sight, a vast sea of men, cavalry, and war chariots. It was said that their numbers reached into the hundreds of thousands, a force so immense that it seemed unstoppable. Xerxes, seated on a golden throne overlooking the battlefield, had expected the Greeks to flee at the sight of his army. But instead, they stood defiant, their shields locked together, their spears at the ready. On the first day, Xerxes ordered his Medes and Scythians to attack. The Greeks, positioned within the narrow pass, fought with a ferocity that stunned the Persians. The Spartan phalanx was an impenetrable wall, each warrior protecting the man beside him. Their spears thrust forward in perfect unison, striking down their enemies with calculated precision. The Persians, though greater in number, could not break through. The battle raged from sunrise to sunset, and by nightfall the Persians had suffered heavy losses. The second day brought no relief for the invaders. Xerxes, frustrated by the failure of his forces, sent his elite warriors, the Immortals, to crush the Spartans. Cloaked in black, armed with swords and shields, they were the finest soldiers in the Persian army. But even they could not penetrate the Greek defenses. The Spartans fought tirelessly, rotating their warriors to maintain their strength. Again, the Persians fell in great numbers, their bodies piling high at the entrance to the pass. It was then that treachery sealed the fate of the defenders. A Greek named Ephialtes, driven by greed or fear, revealed to Xerxes a secret mountain path that bypassed Thermopylae. Under the cover of darkness, the Persians moved through the pass, preparing to surround the Greeks. When dawn broke, Leonidas learned of the betrayal. He knew the battle was lost, but retreat was never an option for a Spartan. Leonidas ordered the majority of the Greek forces to withdraw, ensuring that some would live to fight another day. But he and his 300 Spartans, along with a few hundred remaining allies, resolved to stand their ground. The final day of battle was one of defiance and unrelenting courage. With their spears broken, the Spartans fought with swords. When their swords shattered, they used their fists, their teeth, their very bodies to resist. The Persians rained down arrows, darkening the sky as they overwhelmed the last defenders. Leonidas fell, struck down by Persian warriors, but not before taking many of his enemies with him. His Spartans fought to the last man, their defiance echoing through history. When the battle ended, Xerxes stood among the fallen, his victory marred by the staggering cost. He had won the pass, but at great expense, and the spirit of the Greeks remained unbroken. The sacrifice of the 300 became legend, inspiring the Greek city-states to unite against Persia. Months later, at the Battle of Salamis and then Plataea, the Greeks dealt decisive blows to the invaders, securing their freedom. Thermopylae was not just a battle. It was a symbol of valor, of men who chose to fight against overwhelming odds, knowing they would not return but ensuring that their people would endure. As the years passed, the legacy of Thermopylae grew. The battlefield became a place of pilgrimage, where future generations would come to honor the sacrifice of Leonidas and his men. Poets sang of their bravery, and historians recorded their deeds, ensuring that the world would never forget the stand of the 300. Xerxes' campaign continued, but the resistance he faced grew stronger. The Greek city-states, inspired by the defiance at Thermopylae, forged an alliance that would ultimately drive the Persians back. The war did not end with Thermopylae, but it marked a turning point, a testament to the power of unity and unwavering resolve. Centuries later, the words inscribed upon a stone at Thermopylae remained a powerful reminder of their sacrifice. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws we lie. The memory of their courage lived on, a beacon of inspiration for all who faced insurmountable odds. The battle had been lost, but the war for freedom had just begun, and it was the spirit of Thermopylae that would ultimately lead Greece to victory.